Don't admit to debt when negotiating with debt collectors or collection lawyers. Brought to you by YourLegalLegUp.com, your advantage if you're being sued by debt collectors. This is a brief video to make a point which people have the hardest time remembering. When you're negotiating a debt lawsuit with a debt collector, or even the underlying debt with the original creditor, or anybody in between, you should not ever actually admit owing the money. In this video, we're going to talk about why you need to follow this rule. We start with why you're negotiating. That's obvious, right? You either want the other side to go away without money at all, or with as little money as possible. If you've read my materials, you know that if you're talking about giving them money, you should also be talking about credit repair. So here's a question. Why is the other side negotiating? And that's equally obvious, isn't it? They want as much money from you as they can get while spending the least amount of time, effort, and money they have to. Neither side has to settle. You will only settle if both sides believe settlement is their best option. And those are the most basic of basics in negotiation, but keep them in mind. You know why you don't tell them to go to heck, right? You're worried they may sue you and win. You maybe did borrow that money they're trying to get from somebody, or some amount of money from somebody, and you're worried they'll nail you for it all. Well, why don't they tell you to go to heck? It could be they have legal difficulties too. In fact, debt collectors pretty much always do, while original creditors quite often do too. What kind of problems? Well, maybe they can't prove you borrowed or still owe the money. Maybe they can't prove they bought the debt. Maybe they can't prove how much you might owe. Maybe they can't prove any of it. But in general, they do know that if they want to prove any of it, and if they can at all, they have two options, an easy way and a hard way. They can get you to admit owing the money, or even to give it to them, and that's really easy and cheap for them. Or they can actually try to prove it in court, and that's really hard and expensive, and usually can't be done at all if you fight. Now, here's something you might not know. The lawyer talking to you, or the telephone harassment specialist generally, has no idea what they actually could prove, whatever they tell you, if they work for a debt collector. They don't know. They've never looked at any records. But you could solve all their difficulties in just 1 minute. How? By admitting stuff. If you admit stuff, you make it easy for them to sue you. You have to keep this straight. In lawsuits, you make settlement less likely and more expensive the easier you make it for the other side to sue you and win. You never know what they actually know or can know, but you always know that you can make their lives easier by admitting stuff. Therefore, you never say the things that could solve their problems. But it's weird trying to settle a debt I don't even admit, you may be thinking. Not at all. Parties negotiate lawsuits all the time without ever admitting they did anything wrong. Lawsuits are awful, everybody knows that, and so is a damaged credit report. That's enough reason for anybody to settle, whether you owe or not. So the next time you're trying to negotiate a debt or suit, you just say, I don't owe the money, but I might be willing to settle for, and then name your figure. Or if you're negotiating with the original creditor, you just don't mention the question of owing at all. And they don't really expect you to admit owing it, and your settlement negotiations most definitely will not depend on your admitting the debt. So don't do it. Protect what's yours and don't let the debt collectors rip you off. Debt collection is a social justice issue. Take action to protect yourself from the debt collectors and help others do the same. Please like this video, share it with anybody you think could use it, subscribe and comment, as all of these things help others find our materials. YourLegalLegUp.com